control our own kingdoms, but stay in our realms, we can have our own unique ways of our realms. So that they got they both own unique way of their equinox, and we have our. And so when I was saying that how the east is represents the rising of the east represents the birth, the north represents the life, the west, which is me, represents the fall, and the south represents the death, which is Fomalhaut, of the evolution of this solar system. I'm gonna translate that to 3D terms for y'all. Basically, Aldebaran, the god of the east, governs spring. Governs spring. Pardon me. Aldebaran governs spring, the whole 90 degrees of spring. Regulus, god of the north, governs the whole 90 degrees of summer in the 360 degrees of the sphere of reality of the solar system. Me, Antares, governs the whole 90 degrees of autumn. And Fomalhaut governs the whole 90 degrees of winter. You know what I'm saying? Now, we came up with some slick ways to change up so that our solstices could be a little different from each other. But you know what I'm saying? The equinox is still going to bring the light, and the solstice is still going to bring the dark. You know what I'm saying? We just do it in our own unique way. Like, you know what I'm saying? Since Regulus the birth, a.k.a. summer, bringing it to 3D terms for y'all. I mean, a.k.a. spring. Why I keep saying that? A.k.a. spring. Since Aldebaran represents birth, and a.k.a. spring, he brings in the first light, and we came up with this unique way and shit. You know what I'm saying? We was like, okay, how we can make, like, both of the equinoxes came up with ways of how they can make their equinoxes different from each other, and me and Fomalhaut made our way of seeing how we can make our shit different. So you know what I'm saying, since we still got 360 degrees we all share, and then we split it all through 90 degrees since we all share, to make it different, you know what I'm saying, we split our 90 degrees in 30 degrees. So now we got 30 degrees each within we got 3 versions of our 90 degrees. So that's 30, 30, 30. That equals 90. So we split our little 90 degrees up within 30 degrees. So me, you know what I'm saying, I was like, all right, I'm about to make my solstice, because me and Fomalhaut, we govern the whole solstice. We split it up to 90 degrees, and we split our own 90 degrees kingdom into 30 degrees, which is 3 sets of, is the first decan, the second decan, and the third decan. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, all right, look, this is how I'm gonna make my solstice different from you. All right, I'm gonna start my solstice with air. I'm going to use the air element, because we all agreed that we only going to use 4 elements. Because we the ether. So we was like, all right, we're going to use the fire, water, air, and the earth elements to create our sphere of reality, our solar system. You know what I'm saying? This Milky Way. You know what I'm saying? All right. So the Milky Way put us here. The 4 fixed stars put us here. So you know what I'm saying? We the gods of the shit. So you know what I'm saying? So we like, all right. So I'm like, well, I'm going to use air. I mean, my first 10 degrees out of my splitting it up, I'm gonna use no, my first 30 degrees. My bad. My first 30 degrees, because we split our 90 degrees up into 3 pieces for us. You know what I'm saying? Just for us to, you know what I'm saying, do some shit. So my first 30 degrees, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna use the air element to make my solstice different from Fomalhaut. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna use air. Then I'm gonna use water for the next 30 degrees. Then I'm gonna use fire for my next 30 degrees. So that's gonna make my solstice. That's gonna make my whole 90 degrees when I split my 90 degrees into 30 degrees. And then this nigga, the Fomalhaut, was like, all right, I'm gonna start mine, and I'm to make my solstice different from yours. I'm gonna bring the dark light. I'm gonna start it off with the earth element. Then my next 30 degrees, I'm gonna start it off with the air element. Then my next 30 degrees, I'm gonna start it off with the water element. I'm like, oh, okay. So, you know what I'm saying? So, all right. So we told yin and yang, like, look, we got our solstice. We, me and him split ours up. You know what I'm saying? And I got my 90 degrees. He got his 90 degrees. We split each of our 90 degrees into 30 degrees, for we could have different solstices. We bring in the dark in different ways, yin. And we told this to yang too. But yang representations, you know what I'm saying, Aldebaran, this nigga was like, all right, he trying to make his different, his equinox different, in a unique way different than Regulus. So he like, all right, since it's the birth, aka spring, he like, all right, I'm gonna start mine with I got a brain of light. I gotta make sure everything grow. Let me start it with fire. I'm gonna start my equinox with fire. And then I'm gonna next do earth. Then I'm gonna put the air element on there for my last 30 degrees and that make up my whole 90 degrees. You know what I'm saying? That 30, 30, then 30. That make up my whole 90 degrees. So boom, he made his equinox. You know what I'm saying? Then Regulus is like the god of the north. He was like, all right, I'm about to make my equinox like this. Then I'm gonna start mine with water. Then I'm gonna start it off with I'm gonna put the earth element for my next 30 degrees. Then my last 30 degrees that make up my 90 degrees of the sky is I'm gonna leave it off with I'm gonna put fire. So I'm gonna start my equinox with water. This Regulus. He was like, I'm gonna start my equinox with water. Then I'm gonna follow it up with fire. Then my equinox gonna leave off with earth. So boom. So now we telling yin and yang this and shit, and we like, boom, we created our sphere of reality. We created our 360 together, and then we all took part, had our own 90 degrees, and within our own kingdom of 90 degrees, we separated into 30 degrees, which is, we all had 3 sets of 30 degrees, which makes 90 to fill up our 90 degrees. So they checked it out. They like, oh, okay, we like that. So we created now the evolution of mankind is starting now. Because from the birth of that, star clusters and star systems are starting to be created. So you know what I'm saying, Regulus was like, well, the being that could represent the star constellations that started to manifest out of Regulus elements, out of the fire element, the star constellation Aries got manifested. Then out of his when he created the equinox, out of his next set of 30 degrees, he brought the Aldebaran is the god of the east. He brought the motherfucking the earth quality. And then the next was the last part was the mutable. He brought the air, and that fit in his 90 degrees, the air quality. So he placed out of the earth quality was created the Taurus constellation. Then out of the air quality, the star constellation manifested the Gemini star constellation. You know what I'm saying? Out of that air element, that the creation of Aldebaran for his 90 degrees of the sky. You know what I'm saying? When he separated into 30 degrees. Then the Regulus, the god of the north, then he did his. Then he named the star constellation that came out of the first element he used for the first 30 degrees of his 90 degrees in the sky was water. So the star constellation came out of that was Cancer. Then the next element he threw in for the next 30 degrees was fire. So the star constellation manifested out of that was Leo. Then the next one was what ended was the mutable, and what ended his 90 degrees in the sky was the last 30 degree was Virgo. So the star constellation Virgo manifested out of the earth element we used, because we sat back, we was like, we only going to use 4 elements. We only going to use water, fire, earth, and air. So all of us, we used 3 of them and mixed it up in our own unique ways, and these own unique ways creates the own unique equinoxes and the solstice, and creating the equinoxes and the solstice, we all represent certain aspects. You know what I'm saying? We the 4 gods. So you know what I'm saying. Now we looking at it like this. Now, since we put it in this, like we created the 360 degree in the sky. the fire and the fire, you know, like put it in order, like how Aldebaran, the god of the east, he brought in the he created his equinoxes, this 90 degrees, and put it in with the fire, the earth, and the air, and then the star constellations that grew out of it was Aries, grew out the fire one, Taurus grew out. So it was his representation. It's like it's his manifestation, like his thoughts, Aldebaran thoughts. That's what made his fire different than the fire I might have used. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't use any earth to create my half, because when you're falling, you're not landing on nothing. You're just falling. So since I initiate the whole autumn, I'm God of the whole autumn. I'm God of the West, Antares. I didn't use. I used the element of air to. I used the element of air for my first 30 degrees, then the element of water for my second 30 degrees, then the element of fire for my last 30 degrees, which that's my creation of my whole 90 degrees within the 360 degrees that we all created out of the 4 royal stars, the 4 gods. That's what I did. I didn't, so because the darkness I'm bringing doesn't have an earth. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have the earth quality when you're falling, because you're falling. When you can't fall, when land is in the most literal sense, land itself is a representation and a manifestation of the earth quality. I didn't use none of that. So when you fall, none of that is involved. Now, since everybody play out these roles, when they play it out the stars, that they can fall, but they land on something, because all the energies is getting played out on earth and shit like that. That's his lore. But I'm trying to bring y'all where I'm at. I'm trying to put y'all in the mind of a god. Like the real literal sense of a god. Like I'm here to put in terms of what everything is, like astrology, metaphysics, everything, science, education. I'm here to let y'all know the actuality of it. That's what I'm here for y'all. Everybody else just been living it and explaining it. I'm here to let y'all know what it is. You know what I'm saying? What it is to be a god. That's why when people say shit here like everybody gods, yeah, everybody is, because there's different forms of gods. Just like there's the highest god and there's the lowest gods on every level of the pyramid. You might be low on the pyramid, but there might be a highest god on that lowest ass pyramid. You know what I'm saying? You get where I'm going with this? Now, back to getting in the mind of Antares, of getting into the video. I'm going to explain into details in a movie fashion form. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you know what I'm saying? That's what I did for my solstice. You know what I'm saying? And when you just think about fall, and think about your falling and your aging in life, and you're learning things, and the representations of it, and you need to learn how to build. All this could be interpreted down on a 3-dimensional level. When you could just, I could simply come here on 3D and explain it to y'all on an astrology program level. Because what I'm talking about right now is not really astrology. This is a whole nother program. But if I was to dabble on some 3D shit and get into the astrology program, I could really sit here and explain to y'all, like, okay, in certain ways and fashion, I'm thinking about it from elements, from where I'm from. But coming back down here, I could explain it from zodiac signs, like the Libra, and you need to learn relationships. You need to learn how the transition of life, of learning how to lose it, which is Scorpio, and then you have to gain the wisdom from it, which is Sagittarius. Now that's all I govern if I want to bring it down to the 3D level. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not 3D though. Like, I'm coming here, I govern this whole solar system just as well as the other 4. You know what I'm saying? But where I'm just telling you how I get played out on the lowest scale from where I'm at. So I just want y'all to get with me. Now, back where I'm at, you know what I'm saying? It's like, alcohol, drugs is the suspension of the body. As long as you know how to do everything in moderation, you'll know how to go to the places you need to go the right way, in the right fashion. Okay, now back to the ship. Now, when we created the wheel itself, the star constellations that manifested out of it, we all gave them names. You know what I'm saying? That's why the fire I use is different because it's coming from a dark aspect than the fire that Aldebaran thought of to use, because we all agreed to use these 4 elements in our own way, you know what I'm saying, and to mix them up to create our solstice, my half of the solstice, and then their equinoxes, and you know, they're each half of the equinoxes. You know what I'm saying? So we're the gods of all that shit. So what we do is we initiate the full spectrum. So we're the apocalypse. So right now there has been an apocalypse, which was December 21st, 2012, and now we're in we're still in early degrees, early degrees of 0 degrees of the age of Aquarius, and it's going to take 2,000 and something years to go into another age, which it takes us as royal stars sitting making a cross through splitting the zodiac wheel into 4 pieces, and the 4 pieces equate to 90 degrees, which the 4 divided by 9 is 90 is 360. You know what I'm saying? I mean, times 90 is 360. You know what I'm saying? And we all split our own 90 degrees up into 30 degrees, which so we had 3 versions to work with. We could use 3 elements out of the 4 to create our versions of our solstice and their equinoxes as we come together. You know what I'm saying? And us as a whole, as just us spinning. Now I'm not on 3D no more. Come back on my level now. Just as us spinning, as the north, the south, they spent off a little bit. You know what I'm saying? A little bit like that. That's why Regulus resigned in 28, 29 degrees Leo through 0 degrees Virgo, early 0 degrees Virgo, and Formalhaut resigns into like 2 between 2 and 4 degrees Pisces. So they're off the axis a little bit. We're the actual gods. We're the actual ones that controlling this solar system. And the solar system, this solar system of the star systems, this solar system that we created, which was the elements we used to create the 360 sphere of reality, to create that's the solar system. Out of each element of our thoughts came a star constellation, and them star constellation what's manifesting out of them star constellations is the evolution of mankind. You know what I'm saying? For this kind. So this is how mankind, you know what I'm saying? I'm on a very high level right now. Like this is like when you go watch videos and shit like that, like when they be like watching they be telling you about beings like Palladians and this, that, like I'm a representation of a God that governs them. Like you're not, when they talk about Palladians and Greys and Reptilians and all these different stars like Syrians and all these shits, these are y'all just learning about yourself now. These are you. This is y'all being awakened, because since we made the change, we caused as the 4 gods, we changed the solar system itself into another age. You know what I'm saying? And it's an early age. It takes about 2,000 and some years for all of us to spin as us 4 gods, as we make the cross in the sky, which separates the equinoxes and the solstice. And we got our own unique solstice. They got their own unique solstice, which is Regulus and Aldebaran, and which is me, Antares, and Formalhaut. You know what I'm saying? And when it take us 2,000 and something years to spin, so we like on the edge. So that's why we're so far away from an Earth perspective. You know what I'm saying? But from an Earth perspective, a planet could appear in Sagittarius, but from our perspective, that planet might be in motherfucking, it might be in Aquarius. You know what I'm saying? Because we're far out from the real aspect of everything. You know what I'm saying? It's just, and when Palladians and all that shit and Orions and Greys and all that shit come down here, these are you. These are constellations, and no, these are star systems that manifested from the star constellations. Just like, let me give you an example. You got, okay, out of Aldebaran's first element from his first 30 degrees of the creation of his version of the equinox, he initiated fire, earth, and air. Now, the star constellations that came out of his version of the elements, out of the 4 elements we agreed on as the 4 gods, was the star constellation Aries, Taurus, and Gemini, which is a fire, earth, air sign. Cardinal, fixed, mutable, which carries the whole 90 degrees as a whole, as he governs the whole one. He's the East, God of the East. Now, out of those star constellations, on a lower form of the pyramid effect that I'm talking about, out of those star systems got manifested out of those star constellations. Now, the star systems that got created and manifested from them star constellations is Aries. Now, this Aries star system is not the same as Aries constellation. It's just, think of the constellations is like the houses now. Think of it as 12 houses, which is the 12 30 degrees that we all came up with, because we all own 90 degrees of it, which makes the whole 360 degrees. Now, think of it like that. It's 12 houses now. We all of us as a collective created 12 houses as our sphere of reality to create this solar system as the 4 gods. Now since Aldebaran created his 3 elements or whatever like that in his shit, the 3 elements represents the east 30 degree of his 90 degrees. The constellations came out of that was Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and then the star systems that manifested out of that, the star system that manifested out of the Aries was the Aries. Now, this star system is this manifested from Aries. The star system that manifested out of Taurus was Pleiades. The star system that manifested out of Gemini was I want to say Hades. Don't quote me on that yet, though, because I can tell you perfectly about my side. I govern the first solstice, the first half of the full, you know what I'm saying, my 90 degrees part of the sky, the solstice. I can tell you everything about mine, but I'm just explaining Aldebaran. If Aldebaran was somebody like me and talking about it like me right now, he would tell you, you know what I'm saying, better. Don't quote me on this though, but that's what I'm thinking. You know what I'm saying? This is my opposite, but I'm thinking the star system that came out of the star constellation, that manifested out of the star constellation Gemini, was Hades. Now, since Aries star constellation came out of Aries star system got manifested out of the constellation of Aries. So this star clusters, this star system might, after years and years and eons and ages, it might not be in Aries no more. It just manifested up from Aries. You know what I'm saying? So actually right now it's in Taurus. It's from 1 to 17 degrees Taurus. Like the whole Aries star system. But it's manifested from the star constellation, and the star constellation is the house, the first house. Then the star system Pleiades got originated from the star constellation Taurus, and it came out of the Taurus constellation through the left eye. You know what I'm saying? And it got manifested out of the left eye of the Taurus constellation, but it moved. See, it's just manifested from the star constellation, but it moved a few degrees after ages and ages, and it's in 21 degrees through 15 degrees Gemini. The whole star constellation, the whole star system Pleiades reside through the middle of the 21 degrees of Taurus to 15 degrees Gemini. You know what I'm saying? And since they're originated from the actual house of Taurus, which that's where it got birthed from, that star system got birthed from that star constellation. Since it moved over, it carried those traits. Now, this is why degrees is important, because certain degrees are certain stars. You can be a certain star acting out this role. So this is why if you're an early degree Gemini, you might feel like a Taurus, but you acted out in a Gemini way, because the actual star you is, the actual degree is going to show you what actual star you actually are. The actual being you're playing out, you're acting out here. That star has a name. That star has a trait. And since the whole, you come from star clusters of the star systems, which is the lower pyramid before you got manifested here on Earth in this star. So when you got manifested here, you come from the star system. Now, zodiacs, reason why some people could be like, I don't know, is this real or not, because this don't really fit me, is because you don't know what Pacific being you are. So when astrologers give the Pacific traits, that's all you can resonate with, is the Pacific trait. Like Aries, what do Aries represent as the first house, as what Aldebaran first brought here? Like me, I'm the god of the West. I brought in Libra, which is the opposite of, that was my first, and then how I mixed my elements up was air, water, then fire. So the star systems, the star constellations that came out of them each 30 degrees within my 90 degrees was Libra. The Libra star constellation manifested out of my air element I used for my first half of the 30 degrees of my 90 degrees part in the sky. Then Scorpio manifested out of